Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my next guest is a fellow WHL alum, playing his junior hockey in Kamloops before embarking on a 15-year professional career that included numerous seasons in the NHL. With the Rangers, Canucks, Capitals, and Stars, this former AHL Goalie of the Year became goalie coach after his storied career and has gone public regarding his battle with anxiety and OCD, becoming an outspoken advocate for mental health awareness and helping pave the way for countless others to cope with their own personal mental struggles. On top of all this, he's a respected member of the media, working with the NHL on Sportsnet, amongst other things, and also hosting numerous podcasts. His book, My Journey Out of the Dark, is a riveting tale of an athlete's unique journey, battles on and off the ice. He is a great goalie, a good guy, a fantastic father, a proud player, an amazing Albertan, a cool Canadian. They were the best in Kamloops out west. You know what's up? They won the Mem Cup. Sharks have fins, and he had the most wins. He read Tom Sawyer and played with Zach Boyer. Wouldn't you know? He then made the show. After his career, he coached a few years. Yabba dabba doo. He's a public speaker, too. Folks, when I drink brandy, I prefer to drink Kirsch. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Corey Hirsch. Corey, welcome to the show.
Good to be on the show. I have a question for you to start. How the fuck does a guy from Newfoundland end up in Tri-Cities in the West? In the middle of nowhere, Washington State.
The only Newfoundlander ever to play. Darryl Williams, who's now one of the coaches with Philly, I believe. Darryl played one game in Victoria and went back to the O. I'll tell you how I did it. I went to the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, and I was big, and I was, huge. I mean, we blew everybody away here. Like, we won the All Newfoundland 16-0. I remember I had to go somewhere, and we were going to go. I was going to go to Ontario and try my luck. My dad had played pro, though. So he's like, Tri-Cities wants you to go out west. It is a great league, and I was following along. We were cut off. Now it's zoned that everybody has to go to the Quebec League, right? But I would see these like games of the week, and I didn't know Oshawa from Red Deer, or I guess they weren't in the league then, from Kamloops or Swift Current. But I knew it was a good league, and my dad knew that being the kind of player I was starting to become the West win all the time, and the draft's when you're 14. So if Tri-City don't draft you, you can come back. You still got 2 years, but they're saying they're going to pick you. And I went out to Quesnel, BC. He had to move out with me, and they drafted me 3rd overall to go down. And then it was real. And they gave my dad a bit of a golden handshake, as they would at the time. Tri-Cities, ever wonder? Seattle used to do that too. What? There's 6 guys from Providence and Boston. This doesn't make sense. But that's what it was. They were thinking outside the box.
Who was running the show there at that time? Was it Bob Torrey?
It was Ron Toigo. He ended up going to Vancouver. I don't know if he still owns the team there, but yeah.
Well, he owns everything in Vancouver.
He owns at the time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Corey, at the time, what happened was they wanted me to go out and like play with the Vancouver team. And my dad said, there was no AAA or anything here then. And my dad said, we can get a good team to go out, though. Like, all kinds of guys will get scouted. And they did. That's what happened. There was no one flying to Newfoundland to watch us. John Slaney was the only. There was nobody in the 80s in the NHL. Slanes came along and scored. But even Slanes, he went to the SO Cup in Toronto because they won, and they got scouted there. No one was coming here, even though he went 9th overall. It was still. So we went to Van. Welcome to your interview, by the way. And
I love this. This is great.
Dad took a team, and a bunch of players ended up. Kurt Walsh ended up getting drafted in the 3rd round to Buffalo, went to the O. Maybe 10 players went pro to some degree, or junior A, or college, or and nobody was. So that was kind of a groundbreaking team. The next year, Cleary left, Harold Druken, Canuck, all of a sudden, but no one was, they weren't on the radar either. So that's kind of the story of leaving. And then once I got there, I really enjoyed it. Tri-Cities was so far, it was just like another planet, as you know, right? It was another planet.
Yeah. What a great place to play, though.
Well, how about you? Are you from Medicine Hat?
No, well, I was born in Medicine Hat. I was raised in Calgary.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah, but my parents were always big Medicine Hat Tiger fans. So when, Lanny McDonald rolled through there. So when I was a kid, I was a big Lanny McDonald fan. But my idols were like Mike Palmateer, old 70s goalies. And now I get to golf with Mike Palmateer.
Unbelievable.
He's a buddy of mine, so it's pretty cool. I was in he's in Ontario, so I lived there for a little bit. And he's had about 40 surgeries. Like goalies back then, it was survival of the fittest. Like those guys they're the ones that gave us the crazy name, was the guys in the 70s, because like they wore no equipment. You know, he was like, practice was survival. You know, it's not like today, that's for sure.
How did it take so long for a goalie to wear a mask? I've always, like, I mean, I know you don't have the answer, but can you imagine that? How did it go that long? Like, there's a couple things in society, like wheels on luggage. It was only like people used to carry these. I'm like, didn't anybody think we invented the wheel, like in the 70s or 80s? And the same thing with people are going around taking slappers. It's one thing for a player, I mean, but a goalie. And I know there were straight sticks, but it had to hit. Like some people could get it. Oh, you got to go down. Like people got hit in the face. Obviously, look at Gump Worsley. Yeah, I just find it so wild.
Those guys were nuts, but that's why I became a goalie. Because once in the 70s, when goalies started wearing the flat masks, like and the paint jobs, like I always thought it was really cool, and that's why I became a goalie. So I actually have a mask that's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's the Psycho House mask, and I wore it in Vancouver. So this mask, it's now in the Hall of Fame, and it's pretty famous, I guess. But I always I love goalie masks, and then this mask was I got to Vancouver, and the Vancouver, the skate logo, right? Fuck, I didn't know up until about 3 years ago. I played there for 4 years. I didn't know it was a fucking skate. I thought it was like a mangled trumpet or something. I was like, what the hell is that? So when I went to get a mask there, when I first got there, I was talking to the painter, and the painter's like, I'm like, I don't know. They were like Halloween colors. I was like, okay. So we threw it back and forth. And he's like, well, what about something like the Psycho House? And this guy was really good painter. So I was like, all right, just send it to me. He had made me some masks before, really cool. So when it came,
were you a big fan of Psycho or something?
No, just the Halloween mask. Like I always thought goalie masks were like to be scary and kind of like for kids and that, right? Okay. Like, so I get this mask and I pull it out of the box, and it's the Psycho House, and I'm right in the middle of my mental health struggles, and I'm like, how fucking fitting is this? And I'm gonna put a Psycho House mask on, like. So it ended up being pretty iconic goalie mask, and now it's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So yeah.
Wow. So you moved to Calgary. No wonder, because when I mentioned I was going to have you on, so I played with a couple of your teammates, Craig Lyons, Lucky Leo, I call him, played with him in Colorado Springs, and he said, ask him who scored when we were 12, who scored on him to win the Calgary City Championship. Is this true?
How did you find that?
Because I looked at Hockey DB. I'm like, I know he played in Kamloops, and I know the boys. I mean, I really looked up to them. I first went out there again. I was 14, 91, 92, right? So I believe it might have been the year the Boyer scored on the breakaway to win. I was out there that year. It was in Seattle. I remember it. I think Sador or Niedermeyer made the pass. I remember watching it. And anyway, I ended up playing with the boys in the minors, and
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and still keeping contact to this day with Zach and Craig Lyons. Anyway, so I shot Craig a note yesterday. He's down south, and because he's planning a trip over here to Newfoundland, he wants to take his wife. And I said, anything you want me to say to Corey Hirsch? And he said, just ask him when we were 12 who scored on him.
And he's right too. It was Bantam. It was the Bantam Championships to go to provincials, and we were in overtime. And he scored on me. And I've known Leo since I was about 11 or 12 years old. He told me the wildest story. He got caught in that Vegas shooting. Hey, did you ever, and the story is unbelievable. It really is. But that's cool that you would have, because you would have been. My last year in Kamloops was 92. We won the Memorial Cup in 92. And how's my defense playing with Niedermeyer and Sador? I got to play junior hockey with arguably one of the top 5 defensemen of all time in the world, right? Yeah. So I mean, he just ran the show. Niedermeyer ran he was 16, and he was the best player that I'd ever seen up to that point. And he did whatever he wanted. And I remember one story. I don't know if you remember this, but the veterans used to take the seats on the buses, and because you could sleep. And in Kamloops, we had 8-hour trips, right? 9-hour trips. So the veterans would take the seats, and Scott Niedermayer sat all the way to Portland for a game on the steel of the seats because the veterans took his seat, and he didn't sleep all night, went out, played the game, scored 3 goals, and then got on the bus again and back home. Like, that's how good he was, right? So
I saw a lot of games that year. Like, I went out, I was, first of all, oh man, when I got out there, man, I was 14. Right, I'm 14. I'm first year bantam, but I played junior. I made the junior team, and I ended up leading the team in scoring. Of all the things, 8th overall. Look, I know that things. I'm not bragging when I say this, but I can't. That even might have been lucky, right? Going that high. I mean, and it's a draft year, things can happen, like injuries, whatever. But I couldn't believe that. I went up there. I had such a solid little or group of friends there that supported me. It wasn't all peaches and cream when I first went out, right? I'm taking a spot as somebody that might go on to get a college scholarship, or I know where I'm going. So, but anyway, I would go. Me and the guys would go down. Kamloops was the closest team. Prince George were in our league. They weren't in the dub yet. So we would go down to however many games. I probably saw 10 to 12 that year. And when I first got out and I saw the team I was going to, the video clip I saw, Seattle at Tri-Cities, or Tri-Cities at Seattle, when they went nuts behind the bench.
Can you remember? Ole Kolzig. Yeah, when Ole went over the glass, and like it was insane. Yeah, because
I saw that.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off. I saw that. Yeah. I couldn't fucking believe it. And then I got up to Quesnel, and I'm like, I was in the Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League, and it was fight. There was 5-6 fights tonight. Then I got down to watch the West. I mean, I knew I just had this. I was like, how am I going to survive? And you know what gave me confidence? Watching Scott Niedermayer. I couldn't believe, because he was the swiftest. He was so skilled and swift in a league full of orangutans, and with the stick was 5-10 times heavier, but he still looked so swift. He was pulling toe drags. He was the best player that I remember seeing in junior. He was right before I got there, but it was just wild.
So let me hold on a sec. I got some questions for you. All right. You're on the hot seat here. Okay. So you're in Quesnel. You're 14 years old. You're in the Rocky Mountain Junior. You're fighting 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
You're shitting me.
No, and not only that, Corey, I come out for the first game. I got to take the face off. I'm center. I got to take the face off. I've never thrown a hit before. Right? I never threw a hit. Other than that one series that they asked me to go out and play with Vancouver, that Dad took a team, Bantam AAA team. I played a year up for that tournament with the 76ers. I'm a 77. I learned to hit for 5 games in the Vancouver Super Series. Never did it before in my life. And then I went to play junior. And a guy, he looks at me in the face off. Hey, you're from Newfoundland. Hey, welcome to the West. Good luck. And he cross-checks me in the face, starts a line brawl. I'm going, holy shit, I get pumped. I come back. The next week, this is what I do. I look in the gut check time. I look in the mirror. I'm like, I could come home to O'Donnell High School and get 6 goals a game. I could be the man. I never saw this coming. I don't think I'm going to make it anyway. A very defeatist attitude for Newfoundland then in the 90s. Like, there wasn't as much anything. We didn't have as much success in anything. TV, music, none of it. Great Big Sea shortly came, Republic of Doyle, Frontier, all these shows, all these athletes. Brad Gougeau would win the Olympics shortly after. Curling, hockey, we'd have Dwayne Norris, I think, play with you at some point. Slaney and these guys. But that really was on a precipice, but it hadn't really happened yet. So I had a defeatist attitude, We were the type, Newfoundland, I'd gone to the nationals in ball hockey, soccer, baseball, and hockey. Win Newfoundland, you go to the nationals, and we'd always play the host first game, so the host would win. Everybody gets a free hot dog, and those Noopies try hard, So I was used to that. So anyway, I just went to the boys. I'm like, okay, because I got shit kicked pretty good. I said, I got to do something here, and I knew what I was going to do. So Chris Spencer says, no, I'll take care of him for you. This big guy, man. And I went I'm serious here, and I'd never been with a girl to any point. I think I touched a breast once, so I had to kill a lot. I had to do a lot of things here. I'm a nerd. I'm speaking like that. I speak like Ted Hitchcock talks in Shoresy. That's not too much of a stretch. So I was a nerd, acne everywhere. I was so out of place. But anyway, I came back the next week. We played Williams Lake again, and we had a little pregame brunch. Just starting to get into that rhythm, right? I never had a pregame meal before. I didn't know to nap in the afternoon. I knew nothing. And again, I'm first year Bantam. So I I soaked my hands. I took hot sauce from the table we ate at, and I soaked my hands in it before the game, and I got at that fucking guy again, and then I kicked the shit out of him. Place goes nuts. After the game, I lose my virginity. Right? I'm like, okay, 2 birds with 1 stone, and then at that point, I just latched on to the older guys. My dad went down and said, "Boys, I don't want Terry to be a drunk or anything, but he can't be a total like. Can he go to? You can have a beer or 2. These guys are going to follow you." And then he brought in Sheldon Surrey, who was 1 year older than me, 15. But now I had someone to hang out with, and it was very, it was really. I don't want to use the word hard, but at first there was a lot of tension from all angles. But it ended up being that if I didn't have great teammates, they were great, and then I went back the next year. I get to the Western League. It's my 3rd year junior. It gave me such a one-up on everybody else. Like people were my line mate or second round guy came in, and God rest his soul, my buddy BJ Young, Justin Guy. We had Mark Hurley, Mike Hurley. We had all these rookies, but it's my 3rd year junior, and I played in a crazy fucking league. So Brendan Witt doesn't scare me so much. I know he's big. I respect him, but he doesn't scare me any more than Trevor Jobe up in Fort St. John. Anyway, welcome to your interview.
But do you ever think of that? Like, and I think of this today, like, it's so different the way things are today. And I'm not an advocate for taking fighting out of the game or anything, but I do think it's ridiculous that, 16-year-olds are fighting 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds, or 14-year-olds fighting a 19-year-old, right? So like weird. It's just you're a kid,
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how you police all of that, but it's just so different. And how you and I connected too on Instagram was you showed that fight of Frankie Bialowas with you, the animal. I can't believe you fought the animal.
That was not. And again, right, he came here into St. John's, our first. I don't want to say put us on the map, but we got the St. John's Maple Leafs that year, 91, 92.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd come home for Christmas. I'd watch this guy. Everybody's talking about Frank Bialowas. I'm going, oh, the animal. Him and Vandenbush were here. They just came in. I was like, whoa, these guys are crazy. And then
Vandy
I ended up playing against them. But the thing is, in the West, I went down to try. That year when I was 14, I looked it up I couldn't remember on Elite Prospects the other day. I had 222 minutes. Right. I had like 15 fights as a 14-year-old. So, and I didn't win many of them. I was just like being there for the boy. Right. End of the game. It's 8-1 either way. Just like getting a fight, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, stupid.
Those
shit.
are blue collar towns too, and
blue collar towns, exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and West, the way I explained to people, like, it's like when I was there right after. I mean, Iggy and Doan, they were on the same team in my division. You got, I don't know, Brian McCabe, Surrey. There was a lot of great players that just fought here and there. I think overall there was like a team toughness to it, and definitely too much. There's a happy medium. I get it.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for fighting too, but I mean, I had 25 as a 16-year-old, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was middleweight. I missed most of 96, 97 with a concussion. And you want to talk dark places in my head. And I made the NHL. I didn't want to be playing. It was crazy. Then the next year I led the American League in fights with 34. No checks and bound, no, nothing. What's going on? I don't know, Reggie. I fought Frank twice tonight, Vandenbush on the weekend. Oh, good. How was your power play? It was it was a different
15
time.
punches in the head, right? Like, no, you're good. You're good.
How about, speaking of Junior, Leo says, ask him about sticking up for Scott Niedermayer in Seattle after being sick and the coaches jumping all over him.
Oh, we used to eat. I was cocky. I was a cocky fuck. I look back and I'd like to smack that kid that I was. But we used to go on the way down to Seattle. We would play that night. We would bus all day and then we'd play that night. And Niedermayer was our best player. He just came back from New Jersey. And we used to eat at this place called the King's Table, and it was like a buffet for seniors. So it was like freeze-dried potatoes. And I remember going up to I was one of the last ones, and Bob Brown was our GM, and he goes to pay the bill, and the bill's like $45 for like 25. Like I don't know what it was, or it was like $100. It was, and I was like, holy shit, to feed the whole team, right? It was like $5.99 buffet for everybody.
Yeah.
So anyway, so every time we would play in Seattle, somebody on the bench would shit their pants. Like it was a guaranteed to happen. But this time it was Scott Niedermayer, right? So we're losing. It's in between the second and third period. Scott Niedermayer's on the shitter. The door's open. Like he's like losing his mind. This is fucking bullshit. Next time we go down, I'll buy fucking dinner. I'll buy the team dinner for so that we don't. And he's snapping. And I step up and I go, yeah, I'm with Scott. And Don Hay looks at me and goes, shut the fuck up, Hershey. Nobody wants to hear from you. It was like a level of Scott Niedermayer's up here. We'll listen to him. You shut the fuck up. Don Hay was the assistant coach. And I can still picture Scott Niedermayer on the shitter, sitting there, like losing his mind, telling everybody he's going to buy the team meal next time we go down to Seattle so we don't have to eat that stuff. But guaranteed somebody would shit their pants.
We had one of those, man. It was in Vancouver, Uncle Willie's. There was a place like that. And we would stop there. I remember stopping there on the way to Vancouver. Or Victoria. It was, Van wasn't in the league then. Yeah. Remember all those, great memories on the bus, but I guess looking back, the team would save $1, right? Like everybody would go there. And some people would be like, wicked, man, this is a buffet.
Some guys would love it. Now now players are demanding like good meals and stuff. Like we didn't say a word, we didn't say a word. You took what you could get. Yeah. The junior hockey bus was not, it was a fun place, but man, it was ruthless too. I remember one time when I was 16, Joe Middlestad and Dean Malcock in the back of the bus, and they were just having fun. Took all my clothes off and threw my underwear out the hatch of the top of the bus. And I was 16. I had no underwear for the rest of the trip. I had one pair.
That shit would go on. See, the vets would get bored, and it was still in that hierarchy era.
Yeah.
Where like it wasn't just pick the pucks up after practice. It was like every time you get on the bus, okay, wait, is this Rookieville or whatever? What are we going to do here? Like, I don't know. We had a bunch
I'm so thankful though. It's because Kamloops was such a great place to play. We had stuff, like guys, but it was never got out of control. It never went over the line. Like I was so lucky. Bob Brown, Ken Hitchcock brought me in as a 16-year-old there. And I look at it and I just like, I'm so lucky that I got to play in Kamloops. So, we won three or 4 years, won Memorial Cups. I was there for the first one. And then the all junior hockey all-star team, Doan, Iginla, those guys.
They were my years.
Like, how do you get Doan, Iginla, and Tucker all on the same team? It's unbelievable. But what a great place. I was lucky. Yeah,
they were my two of my first 3 years junior. They won, and not only that, they were in our division. But people would ask me, go like, didn't that suck? I'm like, suck. Like we had Lanks went 5th overall. I went 8th. Boucher went 21st. Everybody's seen us every night. It's about winning and losing. You don't want to be, I didn't want to lose, but the best team in junior hockey, arguable history, is in my division. Of course. Yeah. There's all kinds of scouts are loaded at their games. Of course, we're going to get a little eye on us. If we do something good, it's probably going to help. Yeah. So in my memory, and I played with Iggy and in under 18 and under 17 and all that. And having played in Quesnel, I knew guys when I was there, like Brad Lukowicz. I knew him from that league. I always had a tie with Quesnel. And a guy, Quentin Van Horlick, rest in peace, Quentin, he's passed away. Yeah. But he played with me in Quesnel. He was from Kamloops. And then, look, I'm telling you, I looked just without even thinking. I played with David Wilkie, Darcy Tucker, Chris Murray, right? I guys that Kamloops, Struds, Struds is a buddy of mine.
Good,
I know he came a little bit after you, but Kamloops has a dear place in my heart. And really, from my experience, it was the best organization in junior hockey. One more junior question. Actually, I do want to know, though.
Absolutely.
Want to know, maybe two more. Because Leo, one more thing. He said, ask about stealing New York Ranger goalie pads from Blazer's office.
This is fucking Leo. Like he's outing me everywhere right now. This is bullshit. I'm going to call him after this.
Well, I just said, is there anything that that somebody else wouldn't or a Google search wouldn't? And he said, oh, yeah. That's actually the first thing he said. Ask him about the Rangers pads.
Yeah, so I lived with Leo in junior hockey. So that's how he knows all these stories. And like I said, I've known him since I was about 12 years old. But we were in junior hockey back then. Cooper was the goaltending manufacturer, and we were forced to wear it, right? So I get to New York. I get to New York. I'm with the Rangers. I'm like 19. My first NHL camp. I'm like 18, and the Vaughn guys come up to me and they're going to make me a set of gear. And the Cooper stuff, because they had to make all these goalies equipment, like 100 goalies, so they couldn't really service the goalies. And I'm trying to make it to the NHL, so the stuff wasn't very good. The equipment was terrible. So I finally lose my shit, and I call the Vaughn guys about halfway through my last year of junior, and I'm like, just send me it. Like, I'm not wearing this Cooper shit anymore. Like, I'm done. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting hurt. And so they ship it. And apparently, so Bob Brown and Ed Chenoweth ran the league. And
yeah, remember that.
Bob Brown was the general manager, and he apparently gets all my goalie equipment at the office. Like, it gets shipped there. Right. So I don't even know it's there. Spike Wallace, who was our trainer, he tells me that Bob Brown, it's been sitting in his office for about 2 weeks. I'm waiting for this stuff. Right. And so I'm 18 years old, and Bob Brown, I go to Bob Brown and I want the equipment, and I go in his office and he's not there, and I just take it. Right now, the league is supposed to, goalies have to wear, like, they've got a deal, like goalies have to wear Cooper. So I just go in his office because I know he's not going to give it to me, and I just take it. Right out of his office. I'm 18, like I said, stupid kid. And
Bob
then
didn't like that. Bob was my GM in Tri-Cities as well. I know Bob.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he wouldn't have liked that. Keep going.
No. So I take it home. So Bob calls me. I call Ed Chenoweth of the league, like Ed Chenoweth is going to be on my side, right? I call him up. I go over Bob Brown's head to wear this equipment. Bob's losing his shit on me. I ended up having to take just the name off the equipment. But after I put it on, I had like 5 shutouts in 7 games. So Bob had nothing to say after that. We ended up going on to win the Memorial Cup. So, yeah, like I said, I was that cocky. Like I said, do you ever just wish you could go back and talk to that kid and go, what the fuck were you thinking? You know?
Yeah, sometimes. That's why I'm often, if I've learned anything about myself that way, it's like, don't be too quick to judge people. What are they going through? I don't mean like in a mental health either. I'm saying, like, what are they going through? Where are they in life? What's happened with them? Like, chances are there's a way to reason. Like, I know not that I'm an NHL coach, but I coached some kids growing up. I'm often the leader in a group. I've had different jobs. You find yourself in these situations, right? And you look, because I'm like, man, there's certain things that I believed for, like, and I don't mean conspiracy theories. I just mean like a worldview that was so different than now. You always think you're at your peak, right? You always think, oh, I'm as reasonable as I'm going to be, and I'm as smart as I'm going to be. And then a few years down the road, you listen, and some stuff when I'm 20 is like cringeworthy. But
oh my God, yeah.
Everybody goes through it. Unless there's so much to unpack there. First of all, Bob Brown, when he was there, 95, 96, he came to Kamloops because he was there before that. So he was up, and I went up to talk to him, and I thought he had a heart attack, but he fell asleep. He had this condition. I don't know.
That's right. I heard about that.
Yeah, he fell asleep, and he like rolled, and he started rolling down over the stairs. Like, and I called, I think Dennis. No, it was Bob Laux, our coach. Yeah, I was like, Laux, I think he had a fucking heart attack. Like, I was speaking. No, he's just sleeping. I mean, he's sleeping. What do you mean he's sleeping? Like, he just rolled down the stairs, man. Anyway,
what is that called? It's not narcolepsy, is it? What is it?
I don't know. There's sleep apnea, narcolepsy, whatever it is. He just falls asleep on the snap, right? It was just a condition that he'd always had. I just wasn't privy to it. And I remember them saying, people going, well, I don't think he wants anybody to know, which I can understand. But I'm like, well, we should probably, because I thought he was having a heart attack. But look, when I said a lot to unpack, you won the Mem Cup that year. How did you first get to Kamloops anyway? And then winning the Mem Cup, I mean, God, what a way to just burst onto the hockey scene with that. And then the Rangers, and a couple years later, they win the cup. Like, you had a lot of things happening with you. And I believe you were a Black Ace. We'll get into that in a second. But before we leave Kamloops, how did you get there? And were you guys so dominant that you knew all year you had a chance at the Memorial Cup? I know Seattle were hosting, so that means 2 teams got in from the West. I'm foggy there. When I went out, I realized, wow, they just won the cup, but I don't know anything before that.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Kamloops, we always had really good teams. But so I got we got listed back then when I was 14.
Listed.
I got listed. I got listed by Kamloops. And listen to this. This is the story that so when I look at life and you say all the, like what you said, and you think and you try to think of what people are going through, but I always try to connect the dots. But so when I'm 14 playing Bantam, that year that Craig Lyons actually scored on me in the finals, fucker, I'm going to call him after this too and give him shit for all these stories. Victoria goes to list me. Kamloops puts me on a list. Like the draft wasn't, they didn't have that draft or whatever back then. They put you on a list. And the first team that got you on the list called the league, that's who you went to. So
wow, what a weird setup.
Bob Brown told me the story years later that Kamloops lists me when I'm 14. Victoria went to list me the next day. And Kamloops had already got me on their list. Victoria, during my junior hockey career, they had a season where they won 5 games and lost like 67, right?
Yeah.
So if I get listed by Victoria,
yeah,
I never play in the NHL. I never play in the Olympics. I never play in a Memorial Cup. Like there's no way I'm getting drafted. 5 wins, right? So you think about, holy shit, how lucky was I to get, to Kamloops, and a great organization, good coaches. Bob Brown took care of us. And through that, and then, to play with Niedermayer and Sidor. So that last year, Sid was up with LA. He gets sent back from LA. And then Niedermayer around Christmas time got sent back from New Jersey.
Ah,
so
Jesus Christ.
we weren't that great. But then, once those two got sent back, like I said, Niedermayer, I mean, I played with one of the top 5 defensemen of all time, right? I mean, we're talking guy up there with Lidstrom, Bork, I mean, I never really got to watch Bobby Orr, but apparently he was the best. Like, I mean, Scott Niedermayer's in that conversation, and I played junior hockey with him. And then when Scott came back, we just dominated teams. Like he dominated games. And then we get to the Memorial Cup final. We're 4-4. I remember Chris Simon hit Daryl Sidor so hard it blew the Seattle Zamboni doors open. Chris Simon, did you ever fight Cy?
I know exactly the play you're talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever fight Cy?
No, I didn't.
Oh, good thing. That's why you're still here, probably.
Yeah, I never came across him.
Or tough, I shouldn't say. Yeah, he was tough.
Yeah. Well, I did. It's another story. I ended up having, because I got in so many fights, it ended up, what it was like when the sheet would, the media notes would come around the start of the game, and if someone saw that you were one of the top 5 penalty minute guys, well, he must fight. And guys are just, that's anyway, without getting into it, I believe that's why in junior, we always had tough guys to surround me and Lanks, and we were feisty. I could kind of pick my spots. I didn't have to be fighting Rocky Thompson every night. I did it once, but like Wade Belak once. But, guys like Tucker and stuff, we were all going around like in our little middleweight box. But then you get up and, you realize, okay, if I'm entering this world, there are people like Steve McLaren, Frank Bialowas, Mark Major, Van den Busch. These guys might punch your face and your orbital bone shatters, right? Anyway, without getting
terrifying. But so anyways, we get to the Memorial Cup final, and actually, Seb, there's 20 seconds left to go in the game. Scott Niedermayer, he played Rover. He gets caught up ice. What the hell is he doing getting caught up ice with 20 seconds to go, like in the other team zone? The Sioux comes down. They have a 3-on-1, I think, and they're going to score. They're probably going to score at this point, right? I mean, they got a good. They're going to get a good scoring chance. Scott Niedermayer back checking calls for a drop pass from I can't remember who it was that dropped it, but anyways, the Sioux player drops it back to Niedermayer, right?
My God, the old beer league house. And
Niedermayer's back checking, so he gets it. Niedermayer turns up ice. Ed Patterson got speared at the balls at center ice. So he jumps off the ice because he's ready to throw up, gets on the bench. Zach Boyer jumps over, gets in behind the defenseman, and then Niedermayer hits him with that pass, and Zach scores, and we end up winning the game. But so the whole play is just 17 seconds left. Boyer scores on a breakaway. But what's Niedermayer doing up ice with 20 seconds to go, right? Getting caught in the other team zone. He's a defenseman. And then you get Ed Patterson getting speared in the balls. So then Zach gets to jump on and gets in behind the defense because they don't see him jump off the bench, right?
That's what happened.
They're all going up with the play. Niedermayer calls for a drop pass. right? And he's not even on the Sioux.
Here's the other
Sioux
thing.
player
Here's
drops
the other
it.
thing.
Yeah.
I swear to you, Corey, I swear to you, since that was on TV, I haven't seen the highlight. It really made a mark on me, though. It really, really did. Watching that happen, because my friends, more people knew the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, first of all. OHL, I guess there's more games over here. Even then, like, remember CHL games would come on more then for some reason.
Yeah, the
or
game
at least
of the week.
It seemed like that to me, being a kid, knowing that, that's something that's achievable. But so I haven't seen it, but I remember it. And when I played with Zach in 2001, YouTube or anything wasn't around. So I'm not kidding you. I haven't seen it. This is what I remember. Okay. We were long out, and I don't golf much, but I was golfing with the boys in Quesnel, and we went in to the clubhouse and we were watching it happen. And I think it might even have been the middle of the day. So it was either the next day or you guys played in the afternoon, one of it. And to me, I'm trying to replay it in my head. I remember the pass, but he would have, because there was 2-line passes then. Didn't Niedermeyer make it from like right on the blue line, or like right? Because I remember, if in my mind, if he was like even 2 or 3 feet back, it would have been 2 lines. Am I wrong? I haven't seen it in
you
fucking
know what? I
30
never
years.
really thought of it. But yeah, it would have been a 2-line pass. You're right. Yeah. So he would add it.
So I think he had to have the presence of mind, not only to call for the puck, but to not be offsides, if I remember correctly.
Well, and then he hits Boyer with the perfect pass, right? We used to do that drill in practice, though, where D-man would turn up ice, and so it actually worked out. Pretty wild how it all worked out. But yeah, ultimately ended up winning the Memorial Cup. And then I went on a personal tear after that. Like I end up getting, my next year, I end up getting to Binghamton, where we have a team that sets the all-time points record. I just get on a really
rookie
hot
of the
tear.
year, goalie of the year,
rookie of the year,
goalie of the year.
Like
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm just catching fire. I played my
when
first
did you
NHL
sign, if
game.
you don't mind me asking? I hate keeping cutting you off, but when did you sign the contract?
I signed when I was 19. I signed.
So, like, did you sign? Would you already sign when you were the goalie at the Memorial Cup, or were you waiting to sign? And then at the end of that year, you know what? He convinced us. We signed him. Then you went to Binghamton.
Yeah, I signed at the end of that year, and then the next year I turned pro and went to Binghamton.
Okay. Sorry.
But yeah, no. My how about this for my first contract was 115 in the NHL, and 29.5 in the minors.
Wow.
And a $75,000 signing bonus. And I thought I was fucking rich. Like I'm buying shit. Like I'm buying video games. I'm out. I'm buying my buddies. I'm at the bar. I'm buying everybody drinks. And then you realize how fast it goes. But so the next year, and then I'm running this interview now, by the way. So we're
I love it. Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
But the next year I get to the minors, right? And I get called up. And I remember my first call up was in Boston Garden. And what a cool building that was. But what a shithole. It really was. But anyways,
I was in the last game in the Boston Garden. It was
no way. What a cool building.
Yeah, but it was a send-off. They brought us all down. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, what a cool building. But I thought I all of a sudden my salary bumps to 115,000. I think I am fucking rich. Like I'm thinking I can buy anything I want, like, and then you look back and go 115,000, right? So my first call up, and then my first NHL game was in Detroit. So at the Joe, we tied 2-2 against Yzerman and all that. I think I was first or second star. But here's the cool thing about that. So all the shit that I went through all my whole life, all the mental health stuff, the last year of the Joe, my boys hockey team, when he's like, I can't remember how old he was, 12 or 13. I took the whole team to a game at the Joe in the last year. So they all got to go to the Joe. So I got to sit in the Joe the last year that with my boy and watch a game there, which was really cool. Right. Like, so, and we sat in the end where I got my first NHL start.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's in the book, and it's just it's a really, like, to me, it was like just a full moment, like it was just full circle, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that sounds wild. Listen, this is going to sound crazy, but I've never asked a goalie. I'm friends with a lot. I always ask players about their first goal because they're more infrequent. But do you, like, when your first save series of saves in the NHL, is it the same sort of feeling? Like, do you go, "Whoa, I'm in the NHL and now I'm on the stat sheet"? Like, was it, or is there so much stress that goes involved with the position? I assume is way more stressful. I don't know. If I look at a baseball team, I'm thinking, look at the pitcher, because if we lose, it's all eyes are going to be on him. Likely, if it's same thing in hockey. I'm not saying I want that. I just mean as a player, you can go out and you can blend in, and if you make a mistake, it's often just not even noticed, let alone forgiven. That's a wrong word to use, forgiven, but you know what I'm saying. With goalie, mistakes are much more obvious, and so is there a level of pressure that you don't even remember? You're like, of course, I got to make that save. That's what I do.
Well, I've always said this. Why don't the goalies get the first puck that they've ever been scored on? Because I don't remember the first save, but I sure as hell know who scored on me. And the first goal I ever got scored on, Jimmy Carson blew one by me. I just stood there. Yeah, and it was the first NHL goal I'd ever been scored on, and I'd actually like to have that puck. That'd be pretty cool to have.
Yeah,
right?
Do goalies do that?
I don't know. I always thought, why not? But
it's proof that you're in the NHL. It is a milestone, right? I mean, I don't know. Because anyway.
And then my next game was against Gretzky in the LA Forum. So that was my first NHL win. Was the next game. We beat LA like 8-3. And the only thing that my claim to fame is that Gretzky never scored on me. So
wow.
I only played one game against them. So I'm taking that as a win though.
Your first win was against Gretzky.
Yeah. So
in
that was
La La Land.
And I grew up Calgary, the Calgary Alberta rivalry, right? So Gretzky was on that team, Curry was on that team, Coffey was on that LA team. Rob Stauber was the goalie. Kelly Rudy was one of my idols growing up, and he ended up backing up that game, so he didn't play. But yeah, so we won 8-3 in the Forum. But about a year and a half ago, I was golfing with Russ Courtnall in LA, and I'd had a couple of days off in a break. And Gretzky and him are members of the same course, right? So we come around 18. Gretzky's only playing 9 at this course, and I'm like, I'd never met Gretzky. I'm like, holy shit, Russ, that's fucking Gretzky. Like, can you introduce me to him? Because they're best friends. And Russ is like, calm down, stop fanboying. You're fucking embarrassing me right now. He'll be in the clubhouse after. I'll introduce you. So we go. I get in the clubhouse. I can't really hit my ball. Like, I'm so excited. I'm going to meet fucking Wayne Gretzky, right? So we get in the clubhouse and talking to Gretzky. And I don't know if you've met Gretz or if you.
I have a couple times briefly,
but just a nice man, right? Just a nice man.
We're the same agent.
Yeah, talking hockey. Just a really good person. But I got to get up. I got to get a flight. I got to catch a later flight back to Vancouver. So I got to go. And I'm thinking, do I lose my job or do I stay here? Like, talk to Wayne Gretzky. Like, I'm sitting right across from him. And I get up to go. And Gretzky wants to know every goal he's ever scored. Like, he remembers all that shit. And I go away, and it was really nice to me. I don't get a picture with him because I don't want to fanboy and embarrass Russ. So I don't have a picture with Gretzky. So I get up to go.
One, by the way. Kodak camera. Played against them one game. Went over with my buddies. Kodak fucking back. I used to carry one around. Disposable. Yes, I did. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. That's fuck. I'm jealous. So I get up. I go to shake his hand, and he says, "Hey, it was nice to meet you." He says, "Hey, wait a second. Did I ever play against you?" Gretzky says this to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, you did. My first win was in the LA Forum." And he goes, "Did I score on you? Did I ever score on you? Did I score on you that night?" I said, "Actually, no, you didn't. And you probably lose sleep over it." I said, "If you need a psychiatrist, I fucking got one for you." And I left. And then as I left, Gretzky's dying laughing, right? So I made him belly laugh. But then I'm thinking, I just burned Wayne Gretzky. What the fuck was I thinking? I walked away and I took a flight, and I've never seen him since.
What a fucking story.
Doesn't answer my calls, doesn't answer my emails. But yeah, I don't recommend burning Wayne Gretzky the first time you ever asked him if he needed a psychiatrist.
But it makes for such a good story.
So
okay.
Anyways, so that was my first win, was in the LA Forum. Long way to go about it, but
no, that's what we're here for.
We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign up with promo code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With promo code THPN, as in the Hockey Podcast Network, the crown is yours. Again, that's promo code THPN. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, LA. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
So 92-93 you mentioned is an interesting year for many reasons, and you've had all kinds of team now and now personal success. Now 94 comes along. Now, I know you were coveted by the Rangers, and you're a Black Ace. So I believe at the end of that year, they win the Stanley Cup, and that's the year of, I believe, where was it? Lily? I just remember this. Lillehammer, 94, the Olympics. Now, the clip that lives on is the Forsberg goal. But take us, and we'll get to that in a second. But you guys got silver, and that was before all the NHL players would play. And it was a pretty riveting ride for everybody watching along at home. How did you get to that game in the first place, and then take us through the goal? And I mean, if you're having, at the time, you're very public about your mental health issues. How would you, like, to me, is that a great moment or was that a tough moment? Because, the goal lived on, but it's a great goal by an unbelievable, one of the best ever. And you get a silver medal at the fucking Olympics. So where did that lie, like mentally?
There's so much to unpack there. Like, it's like I said, in life, like those moments happen. Like if you never go out to Quesnel, or you never, end up in Tri-Cities, like you get drafted 8th overall, like you said. So there's things that happen in our lives that are like, you look back and go, fuck, that's divine intervention, like, or whatever you believe in. I don't know. Yeah. But that was the year. So they split the Olympics and the summer and the winter games. So they went winter 92, 94, 98, and they split the summer. So there was 2 years in between winter games. So if that doesn't happen, I never play in the Olympics, right?
So there's I never thought about that.
Yeah. So Tom Rennie is also my junior coach. I win a Memorial Cup. He's the head coach of the Olympic team.
Yeah.
So if he's there, I never play in the Olympics if none of that happens, right? Incredible. So we end up getting we didn't have a great team. And then we got Paul Correa and Peter Nedved got a Canadian passport. And we end up with actually a really good team. Once those two joined our team, it was completely different. So we get all the way to the finals in the Olympics, and nothing cooler than the Olympics. And I tell everybody, you got to go. Like, you got to go see it. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we were the year that Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan was happening in 94. So that was the big news. But we get all the way to the final, and then obviously, we're tied. We get into sudden death shooters, and Peter Forsberg ends up coming down on me and scoring the famous, one-hand goal. And now every time still that it happens, like, my name gets mentioned, like an NHL guy scores, like, this is 30 years ago. And if a guy in the NHL, it's called the Forsberg now. Well,
yeah,
because of me, it's called the Forsberg, right?
It is.
And I look back, and it's like, at the time, you're like, it was pretty, but I ended up with a silver medal. But a lot of people don't know this is that if that wasn't bad enough, they put me on a Swedish postage stamp. So the Forsberg is on a Swedish. Yeah. If you look it up, you go Forsberg postage stamp, and I'm on the stamp getting scored on. So
literally,
I'm on a fucking postage stamp, dude.
Literally.
So yeah. So I've got a silver medal. I'm on a postage stamp. There's a big to do over it. My agent asked for likeness fees. Fucking, So Sweden ends up changing my image. It ends up like kind of blowing up in the news that I was disgruntled that I didn't want my photo on the stamp and all that, when actually we were just asking for compensation for
like you would.
So that ends up happening. But at least it was a good player, right? Like Peter Forsberg. At least it wasn't
and a great goal. I mean, it's not. I don't recall people.
It's relevant in history. But so for what I do today, with the mental health stuff I do today, like, if that moment puts me in history and makes me kind of a household name, right? Because fucking so many, and it still lives on today. So, if that moment doesn't happen, am I doing what I'm doing today? And back then, I didn't know which way my life was going to go, but I didn't really get sick until I got about 2 months after the Olympics. But anyways, so the Rangers call me up after the Olympics. Listen to this cocky kid that I was. I get called up to the Rangers after the Olympics, and the trade deadline's coming up. I'm like, they got Healy and Richter, and they just signed Healy for 4 years as a backup at $1 million per. I'm like, I'm never going to make this fucking team. I go home for 10 days. I go, fucking trade me. I'm ready to play in the NHL after the Olympics. So I go home. I get suspended by the Rangers because I just went home because I wanted to get traded. They don't trade me. I ended up going up for the playoff run with the Rangers, and then they end up winning the cup. So like I said, my life is on this absolute tear, right? I mean, Stanley Cup, Memorial Cup, Olympics, all within about a 3-year span, and I'm playing well. Like I'm playing really well. And then so and so I don't ever say that I won the cup as a Black Ace, because you watch what those guys did, right? Like I watch what Messier and Leach and what they put, and it's a Black Ace. Like, man, all the respect in the world to the Rangers. Got to drink out of the cup. Was on Madison Square Garden is the coolest fucking building in the world, and it's my favorite building. And I always say that playing for the Rangers is like playing for the Yankees. Like there's nothing like it. And you played a game at Madison Square Garden, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's the best fucking building in the world.
It's just, it reminded me of a lot of things. It was the closest hockey atmosphere to European soccer. And I remember having to go up on the elevator, and I was like, what's going on here? And then you come out, and luckily for me, I got to play in that building, and then Boston Garden, the Forum. My first game was in the Forum, but then I went back to junior. I came back, and it was the Molson Center, and the same thing with Leaf Gardens. 2 years later, so I played in these buildings that are iconic. That I guess it was just that time that they were all the changing of the guard. Wow, man, that is riveting. So you were there the night they won the cup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's down on the
you guys, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I was there. But
wow. My God. Just from, again, I know technically you don't get a ring, but you're there drinking from the cup. You're still only like what, 24, 23?
21. Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
Look at all that stuff happening. So then, like when you talk about your mental health struggles at the time, and I guess you kept it to yourself, but is there a definitive start and finish, or were you just like, you know what, since I've been 8, I've been noticing I've been worrying too much, or was it like, okay, now I'm in some kind of zone?
So OCD is a little different than some other, like anxiety, depression. You always just kind of have it. It can creep up on you. OCD, I can remember the distinctive day when things just went kind of
okay, interesting.
Just like something breaks, right? Yeah. And so probably 2 weeks before the Rangers win the cup, like everything just kind of goes dark for me, right? So now I'm struggling with I'm with the Rangers. I'm struggling with panic attacks. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm not telling anybody, right? Like I'm not telling back that, not a chance. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, but I'm having panic attacks like every morning. Like it's a battle. And I say this, and I don't want to bring the interview down, but
no,
so Rangers win the cup. I blow out of there the next day. I don't stick around for the ticker tape parade. I don't stick. I'm sick. Like I'm not good. I figure if I get home, maybe it'll all go away. But in 2 weeks, we'll get into it. But like I just won a silver medal at the Olympics, drank out of the Stanley Cup, and I'm suicidal, right? Like so people always say, you know, like, and I talk to people about this, like when someone's like that and you say, hey, you know, you try to point out all the great things in their life and all that. And people are trying to be kind and do that. But you couldn't tell me how great my life was. Like I said, I just had a silver medal and I'm suicidal. I'm not well. So the Rangers kind of just think that, you know, I'm a disgruntled player, right? Because of the 10 days I didn't go. And I thought, so you just end up looking like a bad guy. Like who doesn't stick around for ticker tape parade in New York? But I'm sick. Like I'm not well. And I was hoping if I got home. Yeah. So, you know, after that, it just ends up looking like you're a bad teammate or a disgruntled employee. And it was actually probably about a month after that I actually did make a suicide attempt. And again, I don't want to bring the, you know, I'll spare you the story of the details. I live at the end, so it's all good.
yeah And a lot of people, I just think mental health issues, there's extremes, obviously that's extreme, but I think they're just way more common than people think. I get it, but back then no one spoke about it either, man. It was worse.
No.
It was just worse. Anybody. No one spoke about it, and you felt like you were. The only reason I want you to keep going. In 96, 97, I had a bad concussion. It happened in Seattle. It's on YouTube. I didn't know what was happening, and it was real dark. You mentioned dark, like that essay you wrote, through The Athletic or something, or the Hockey News with something. So, you know, and I remember no one understood. I remember I'm in the NHL. I was roommates with Tucker. We're in San Jose. They're telling me to play. And I'm like, man, I can't see the other side of the ice. I'm trying to tell people, but they're going, well, you know, you're young. It's anxiety. It's normal. But I know it's not really normal. Yeah. So it was brought on by a concussion. But I mean, for a year, and I get it. I don't want to underplay anything you're saying. It's just, I remember going through the worst time of my life and being so embarrassed to talk to anybody. I had great captains. I had great leaders on my team. Koivu, Damphus. Corson, who's still a buddy, who comes out and talks about that here and there. Yeah. Scott Thornton, and I was so scared to say it to anybody. You know, you got to be a man. Anyway, so I just wanted to interject and say that.
Yeah, no, thanks for saying that, man.
More common than people think. Go ahead.
The more we share, that stuff, like the more there, because there's people out there sitting there. You're going to have listeners right now that are sitting there going, "Oh, holy shit! I didn't know that about Terry Ryan, or I didn't, you know." And that, just go get the fucking help. Right. Yeah. It's not a big deal. Right. It's like, go get the help you need. And
so how did you? Like, you know, how did that play out? Because you end up going, like, part of this story, yes, you're alive, but the middle part of this story, the meat of it here, you go to Vancouver. Now you're all of a sudden, you're in the NHL, you're wheeling, you're dealing, you're a starting goalie. So you're dealing with this at the same time. Take us through the story.
Yeah. So, you know, I end up going back after, you know, obviously an unsuccessful suicide attempt, which thank goodness. You know, I end up just, you know, I remember after that happened, and I'm just like, what am I going to do here? And I'm like, I'll just hope to figure it out one day. Right. So I go back to the Rangers. They think they're trying to trade me the whole year, because now, like, you know, when you have mental health issues, you're late for stuff. You stop hanging, you know, I withdrew from all my friends, my teammates, like you're just trying to hide. Right. But you end up looking like a bad teammate, you know, because I didn't work out. Right. So they just trying to get rid of me the whole year. And finally they trade me, but I'm playing really well on the ice. So, like, people ask me if hockey did this to me, right? That people like, did hockey do this to you? The stress and the pressure? Fuck, man, hockey saved my life. Like, it gave me somewhere to go and something to look forward to. And it's probably the only reason I'm still here today, right? Because the game is great. And we've got people within it. We got to weed out, right? Those shitty people like fucking Babcock.
Always happening.
But, you know, like, the game is a great game. So anyways, so they trade me to Vancouver. I go to the World Championships because Kirk McLean and Kay Whitmore are still the goalies. So there's no room for me. So they send me to the World Championships. So, you know, within 2 years, I've played in the Olympics and the World Championships. Like, and there's just so much there. So we end up winning a bronze. Like I'm still playing really well on the ice. The next training camp, and I say this in my talks, Terry, you know, like, for anybody that has struggles with mental illness, or anybody that struggles, there's an impending doom. Like, you're going to be like this for the rest of your life, and then you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. And I say this, and I made the fucking NHL with like a severe mental health issue, right? Like just because you mental health issues, it's not going to hold you back, like go out and you live your life. And so I make the Canucks. I'm end up on the all rookie team.
Yeah.
And then, I end up on the all rookie team that year. I have a really good year, but, I'm still sick. I'm still really sick. And then eventually, like you said, I'm not telling anybody though, right? Like I'm hoping to figure it out. Just in my head, and then it'll just go away. But it's not going to just go away. It's like you can't break your leg and it's just going to go away, right? You need treatment, you need help. So anyways, my next year in Vancouver, and I'll try and shorten up the story a bit, but my next year in Vancouver, the wheels come off, right? Like the wheels come off. I have a really good start to the year. We have a trip to New York. Kirk McLean's hurt. I got to play all the games. But I've lost 30 pounds now. I only played at 175. I'm 145 pounds. My teammates.
No shit.
Yeah, my teammates.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So, because I have so much anxiety, I can't eat, right?
Wow.
So my teammates are starting to notice, because now I'm starting to withdraw again. I'm starting to I'm starting to be late. So we get to New York, and I remember going in the shower and coming out of the shower, and Marty Jalina looks at me and goes, "Hershey, what's wrong with you?" And I just blow by him, right? Because I'm 145 pounds, right? Guys are starting to notice what the fuck's going on.
Dude.
I remember going out for team meals and looking at my food when it comes, and I can't eat. And I remember one time Dave Babbage was like, "Hey, aren't you going to eat your dinner? We're on the road." And I'm like, "Fuck, quick, make up an excuse." "No, I just ate a little while ago." And they're just looking at me because I can't. I've got so much anxiety and I'm having panic attacks that I can't eat. So now the wheels are coming off, right? So we're in New York, and then the next morning, it's morning skate on the island, and I'm like, fuck, I get up, I can't do this anymore, right? Like I'm suicidal again. So I pull a trainer, Mike Bernstein, aside. Like, I've got two choices here. I can talk to a trainer and see if there's help, or I can really get it done this time, right? And my thought process was, okay, I'm going to tell the trainer, if there's no help, well, fuck it, plan B, right? Like, we'll just get it done. And then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I pull Mike Bernstein aside and way away from the locker room, and I say, and I look at Bernie, and I'm tearing up, and I'm like, "Bernie, I'm not doing very well." And he looks at me, and Mike Bernstein probably saved my life, actually. So shout out to Bernie. But I say to Bernie, "I'm not doing well." And he looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, we know, Hershey. We can tell, right? Like, fuck, 145 pounds. And I say, "No, Bernie, I'm fucking suicidal. Like, this isn't good, right?" And I'm the goalie.
That must have been a weight off your shoulders, was it, to say it?
It was, but I still didn't believe that he could help me. Like, I still didn't believe there was help available, but it was like, fuck, so I didn't know what was going to happen. So Mike Bernstein's like, "Okay, you let me take care of this. I'll go, I'll figure this out." But I didn't know what Bernie was going to do. Right. In the meantime, he's calling like psychologists that work with the team, trying to get me some help, but I don't know this. I go out and play against the Islanders that night. We lose 5-4 in overtime. I'm fucking terrible. Overtime goal is terrible. I get in like a mini fight, like where it's like a little, everybody's like, I'm punching guys in the face. It's, I'm just losing my shit.
Yeah.
And after the game, my teammates are starting to hate me even more, because now I'm not winning games. And right, like, it's like, because they don't know what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. So the next morning, we have a morning skate in New Jersey. We got to play back to back. And I'm standing in net in the morning skate, and guys are shooting pucks. We're doing like just the shoot around or whatever. And all of a sudden I can't see pucks. Like, I'm having like this out of body experience. It's called depersonalization. I later learned that your brain is just fried. Like, it's fucking done. Your anxiety. It's like the pot's boiled over. Right.
Yeah.
So I have no choice. I skate over to Tom Randy. I'm like, "Tom, I can't play." And he looks at me. He's like, "Hershey, okay, we got this. Get yourself changed and whatever." He calls an emergency team meeting, because nobody knows what to do. Nobody knew this shit. Like, at this time, like, right, we didn't talk about it. Yeah. I'm in the locker room, and then we're in New Jersey, and it's like just a normal locker room. I'm in the corner. I've got my head in my knees. Like, I'm a shell of a human being at this point. And in the locker room in this meeting, like, there's Pavel Bure, there's Alex McGillney, there's Russ Courtnall, they're all like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Interesting,
right?
yeah.
These guys are all peers and buddies of mine. And Tom says, Hershey's not doing very well. We're going to play Mike Fountain tonight. If the media or anybody asks, just say he's got the flu, right? This is a fucking actual meeting that I was part of. Like, that was so embarrassed, the shame, everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like,
was the awful.
God.
So, but Tom didn't know what to do either, right? But it wasn't like Tom was doing it. He just didn't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
So I remember getting in the shower, like, I'm the plague now. Like, guys aren't talking to me and looking at me because nobody knows what's going on, right? Like, I'm not telling anybody. And Terry, and I got on the bus and I sat on the bus and I looked out the window, and I remember it sat at the front because I was so embarrassed and so ashamed that I remember crying a little bit, right? And I'm like, and I remember looking out the window going, I just threw my NHL career away. And I did. At that point, nobody knew what was going on. I ended up bouncing around the minors, and that's fine. But I was also the same day I saved my own life, because I go back to Vancouver. I go back to Vancouver. Mike Bernstein has a psychologist come to my apartment, right? And so I talked to and I've got the same thought process. I'm going to tell this psychologist everything. And if he can't help me, well, fuck it. I'm getting it done this time. Right. And then it's not going to matter. That's how sick my brain was. Right. Like that's so
fuck, man. You're teetering. You're fucking tight roping across a fucking high wire, man.
I really was. And then, so after I spill my guts to this guy, and after about 20 minutes, he looks at me. He's like, you have obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, well, it's a mental illness, but it's highly treatable. You're going to go on to have a great life. You're going to go. Wow. And I just sat there bawling in front of him because
I'm almost bawling now.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now, did you finally have the realization? Like, that must have been like a million pounds off your shoulders, was it?
I had played a game that night. I played against Dallas. I got a shutout against Dallas because I was so fucking relieved. Yeah. What I didn't realize was the work that was going to be needed to put into it to get healthy again. Right. But at the time it was like 3 years of my life where I didn't tell anybody, and I struggled, and I remember there's one story, and sorry, I'm probably dragging down the interview, but I don't. No, everything ends up good. I end up living. So we're good.
Yeah, this is great. It's interesting stuff. We're human and we go through shit. Go ahead.
But there's a story where my mom had to remind me. So when I got really sick, I called my mama when the Rangers were in the playoffs, because I was just I was like, Mom, I need help. Like, I can't tell anybody. I got to get to practice every day. I don't know what's going on. My mom was the only person I told. My mom didn't know what to do either. Like, nobody knew what to do. And my mom said, so we went up, and I'm backtracking. This is with the Rangers in the playoffs when I first got sick. And we went up to the top of this Empire State Building. And my mom told me this story because I didn't even remember. We got to the top, and I looked over the edge, and I looked back at my mom, and I told her I wished I could jump. Like, that's how fucking sick I was. So my mom is there, and she's realizing her boy is in the NHL, and he's absolutely completely fucking broken, right? Like, and she doesn't know what to do. And my mom told me that. I didn't remember that story, but how awful for my mom must that have been, right? Like, she didn't know what to do. So that's how bad it got. But anyways, so I get diagnosed. I get a shutout that night. But I don't realize how, I don't realize how much work it's going to be to get healthy. But, I get on some medication. I'm trying different therapies, but it took me 10 years really before I found somebody that could really, really help me.
And a lot of those years you're playing in the minors. So you pursued. Yeah. I mean, you got up a little bit, but you pursued it all. And now to me, because there's a lot going on here. You realize you have OCD. You come to the realization it's a mental health illness, and you got to deal with it. And during all that, and just a little bit before you realized it, or we're even going through a lot, you win the Memorial Cup. You're goalie of the year. You're all kinds of personal and team awards. Now you're dealing with it, and you make it all. Like, things couldn't be going any better. Literally to the point of drinking out of the Stanley Cup, Olympics, like all these accomplishments. But now that you realize what it is and you're dealing with it, you're mostly in the minors without those accomplishments. Did did that bring you down at all? Because, oh God, now what if, or were you like, okay, because you played, like, you didn't give up, you stayed at it. And I mean, to the point of going over, I mean, and most people would be completely appreciative to play 1 minute of pro hockey. I'm not saying it like it's a negative thing.
Oh yeah,
You're saying
absolutely.
from your point of view, were you happy during those years playing in the minors that you found the problem, you're dealing with it, it can't still be easy, but you're not on top of the world, you're hovering, you're teetering.
Yeah, I'm still not telling anybody, right? Like I didn't, until that article came out in the Players Tribune, it was 20 years. Like nobody knew that I had obsessive compulsive disorder, because even though I got diagnosed and all that, I'm still not telling anybody. I'm pretending like nothing happened, right? But
I just figured with the meeting that Tom Rennie had, so that just ended up dissipating, and like anything at the time, well, no one really wants to talk about men, so we're just going to sweep that under the rug. Is that what happened?
That's kind of exactly what happened. Like it was, and I didn't realize either the magnitude, probably the impact that it had on everybody else. But yeah, so they don't, Vancouver doesn't really know what to do with me either, right? Because like now they just think I'm fucked up, right? So let's get rid of this guy. So Phoenix was supposed to pick me up in the expansion draft. My agent's like, it's done deal, or not in the expansion. It's I was going on waivers. The following season, they put me on waivers, right? Because I still got a couple years left on this deal that I'm on.
Yeah.
So they can't get rid of me. But Arizona says, yeah, tells me we are definitely going to pick up Corey Hirsch. And so I'm waiting the next day. The waiver draft comes, and Phoenix grabs Jimmy Waite, and I get passed over. Right. And it's like, what the fuck happened? And Jimmy's a good dude. But so then after that, I just ended up bouncing around the minors because word gets out, right? Like geographically, it seems like a big league, but everybody knows everybody. Like you've got 32 general managers in the league, and 22 of them have grew up playing against each other for their whole life. Like they're all buddies. They all know.
I know.
So word gets around, man. Right? Yeah. So
before the internet and everything, Corey.
Yeah.
Like, remember after games, man, guys would be calling each other. Word got around in the hockey world immediately, no matter what it was. I'm out in the Western League. I'd know what happened in the American League, in the Q, in the O. Everybody had a contact and everybody spoke. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. It's like you think because geographically it seems like, there's New York and there's LA, but these guys are all like Rob Blake played against Joe Sakic. They're both GMs of teams like their whole lives, right? Yeah. So you wonder how deals get done. Well, they're just fucking buddies. They're golfing, they're hanging out, right? Like, yeah. And that's all over the league. But point is that by then word got out that like I wasn't right, and I never ever came out publicly saying I had obsessive compulsive disorder, because I was still hoping that I'd just sweep it under the rug, nobody would know. But also, and in fair honesty, goalies got bigger, right? I'm 5'10". Goalies are like 6'7" now. So my size goalie was getting phased out. So there was two factors. But, and I say this about this story is all that shit happened. But, man, I still squeezed out 7 or 8 more years pro, right? Like, I mean, to play, and I got one more chance to play in the NHL. And I'm thankful. And I look back at all of that stuff and all that shit that happened and how hard it was. But what I do today is more rewarding than any game I ever played, right? Like when someone tells you that, like when a 40-year-old man in construction with a beard and tattoos, and he's like 6'3", comes up to you in tears and says, "Thank you, I'm going to go get help." Right? Like it's so rewarding. So I look at all of that and I go, fuck, if Forsberg doesn't score on me, am I doing what I do today? If none of that shit happens, do I have the book I'm able to write today? Right? Like there's so many things that happen in your life, and you got to be thankful for it, right? I mean, and I try, and fuck, but man, I was good. I was on a tear. Shitty time to get sick, man.
No, it's riveting, and I'm serious. I read excerpts, and I read that Dark article that you wrote. It was literally, I think, called Dark.
Yeah.
Right. I read that when it was published, but I'm going to go out and get the book. I'm really looking forward to this. But look, am I keeping you here? Do you
no, man, I got lots of time. Yeah, no.
I'm curious then, if anything, I'm sure all that built, even though you're finding out you got a mental health issue, but it's built, it must have built your mental toughness. You wouldn't be right here in front of me now. Leadership, that whole kind of public speaking thing is under that umbrella, right? You end up coaching, and you're with the World Juniors, again, top of what they do. You go now, this is shortly after your career. I'm talking about 07, 08. I don't know any other years. Maybe you're involved more years than that. So you're guiding these guys toward their dream. You not in very recent memory, you've won, you've gone through all that. So when you're coaching, was there, and this is, I mean, when you were then, specifically these years, junior kids right after your career, did that seem unbelievably rewarding? And was that therapeutic given the process that you'd just gone through? Or was it a job? And I don't mean you can't one off a World Junior. I'm just saying, what was that as gratifying as, say, your playing days?
You know, I was lucky because coming out of the game, and I don't know how yours went, but when you're done and you're coming out of the game, it's a fucking shock to the system. Like, it's like, all right, well, now what am I going to do? Right. And I had walked into the Hockey Canada offices, having the history, and their goalie coach was Ian Clark, and he had just left for Vancouver. So the timing was good. Yeah. So I ended up being the goalie coach for that, and got into coaching right away after. So I was lucky that I quit. I retired, got into coaching right away. Like, some guys sit around for 2 years and it's like they're just staring at their wives, right? Like, our divorce rate after hockey is 75-80%.
It's crazy.
It's not good. But anyways, so I got into that. Yeah. And I got into coaching, and my first year, the goalies were like Carey Price. Ended up winning a World Junior gold medal. I was the goalie coach for Carey Price. It was like, Carey, you're better than I ever was. Just go play, do your thing. That was my extent of goalie coaching.
But you must have been identified with him. He's from Salmon Arm, not far from Kamloops, Western League guy.
Well, and I'd met him a few times before. Ole Kolzig, used to go to his golf tournament, and you wouldn't have played with Pricey, right? No, he'd have been after you for.
I didn't play with him, no.
Yeah, in Tri-Cities. So, and Ole. So I'd known him a little bit, so it worked out good. But then. Then I end up a couple years there, and I'm just trying to figure my shit out, and I end up goalie coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
right?
Saw that.
Cujo's one of my goalies. Okay, so Cujo's 4 years older than me, better goalie than I ever was.
Wow,
I'm his goalie coach.
Unfucking believable.
And Cujo was what an awesome dude. He was in his last year he'd ever played. He was going through divorce. Like, it was heartbreaking to watch what was happening to Cujo. And everything's good now, but yeah, that was tough. He went through some tough times, and I'm his goalie coach.
You're his goalie coach. Did you take a lot from Francois Allaire?
No. So Francois Allaire comes in the next year.
Okay. I wasn't sure the timeline. He was in Montreal when I was there.
Yeah.
Well, I asked briefly, but I remember meeting Francois, and he was a very, very, I remember people talking about him. I know nothing about being a goalie, but he was very well respected. I saw you work with him is the only reason.
Yeah. Oh, and I have another great story. So I'm goalie coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ron Wilson's a head coach. Tim Hunter, Rob Zettler. We're sitting in the coach's room, and Brian Burke comes down. Brian Burke just got hired as the GM, and Berkey doesn't already. The mental health stuff, he doesn't know anything about it either. Like I said, I never told anybody. But Berkey's kind of leery of me, right? I was in Vancouver. He had heard all the stories. He moved me out of Vancouver. Like, he was always good to me, right? We have no issues. But he gets to Toronto. I'm the goalie coach, and I'm already kind of on the on the fence with him. And we're sitting in the coach's room, and there's this little kid, and I can't remember the little boy or little girl, but playing in the room. And Brian had brought, this is after practice, the kid, about a 3 or 4 year old. And we're all sitting there, and I look at Berkey. I go, "Hey, Berkey, is that your grandkid?" And he's like, "Hershey, that's my son." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll just take my foot out of my mouth."
You've done that a few times.
And then sure enough, the next year I was no longer the goalie coach. Francois Allaire was the goalie coach.
Oh, that's what.
And Hershey, no, that's my kid. And I'm like, "Okay, awesome. This went well. I'll see myself out." And then so I ended up going to St. Louis and coached there for a few years after that. So it was good to fall into the goalie coaching, but then I really loved the broadcasting and TV, and
I was going to say, how did that come about?
I was sitting at home. I just got let go from St. Louis. I didn't get any of the other goaltending coaching jobs. I just got fucking dumped by my girlfriend, and I'm laying in bed, I'm sure you've had those moments, like, what the fuck,
how did I find myself
how
here?
did I find myself here? So I started tweeting about games and just funny, stupid shit. And Elliot, my phone rings. Elliot Friedman is like, "Hey, Hershey, following your account, like, and Sportsnet had just got that 12-year deal with, and so they were looking for broadcasters. He's like, your Twitter, we like it. It's fine. Can you do that on TV? I'm like, fuck yeah, sure. So I do a couple of shows and fuck, I end up doing TV for Sportsnet. I like TV. TV was fucking fun, as you know, right? TV is electric. Like, it's like,
I find a lot of similarities too when you're doing live stuff and everything, because that right after you ask, I struggle with it, man. And my career wasn't over when I wanted it to be. No one's really is, but I would have played till I was 40, and the NHL was one thing. I just stopped playing senior hockey 2 years ago, man, going to Allen Cups and shit. So I love the game, and it wasn't the be all and end all. I was disappointed. I went so high. I'm like, I wish I could fulfill that, but I ended up hurting my ankle. I had a high ankle sprain really early on. It was 01. The planes went, it was September 11th, 01. It had happened like 2 days before that.
Yeah.
And just as I'm not comparing anything that happened, I just remember it happening. It's a footnote. And I knew it. I signed in Cincinnati, Orlando, and Idaho, my three favorite places in the minors after that, because I knew I wasn't going to get back to the show. I lost a step, and I didn't have a step to lose. That was my worst attribute, would have been skating, and I just knew it. I couldn't get out of the way anymore, getting laid up in open ice. So I became a decent minor league player for a couple of years, and I started writing my book. So, but I came home and I didn't know what to do, and there was a heavy level of depression that went with it. I went up to like 200, 195, 200. I went up to 250 almost. My buddy grabbed me one night, man. I was at Greensleeves. I've got my favorite pair here still. There. Yeah, you've been there in the A.
I've been there, yeah.
It was like 4 a.m, and I remember I'd gone. I wasn't like sitting there and like drinking out of depression like you would think. Like my hat wasn't down going, give me another. But I was latching. I had a bit of money in my pocket. And I was latching on to parties from people. I don't know, the MUN students, the business students might go out on a Tuesday. My senior hockey buddies maybe on Thursday. On the weekend, everybody goes out. I found myself just escaping it.
Yeah.
And I'm not normally, I drink once a week. I like to drink, smoke a little bit of CBD, THC if I'm feeling adventurous.
Yeah.
But I'm not really one of those. But I found myself, like, it's just easier if I drink, and I'm at a party or something. It can be fun and I can be me without having to think about what I just did and fucked up my career. So I became a Red Bull rep. For lack of a better way, I lost the weight. I went on a reality show. I found ball hockey, and I started to won a world championship. I started to get back in the mode of, like, happy and positive like myself. And it's just hard to, it's one thing to not go 8th overall, then get the key to the city and think you're going to be in rookie of the year in the minors. It's not like, and I just didn't see this coming, man. Within 2 years, it's over. And I found that transition, and I'm a Red Bull rep, and I was territory manager for Newfoundland. I should have been happy, man. If I was 18 and I wasn't a hockey player and went through 4 years of school and got to be that, I would have been happy. But I just found myself trying to remember these numbers that didn't matter. It's not a team atmosphere. I'm doing these finances at the end of the day. I'm like, and I was like real depressed about it. So the writing a book, my book is called Tales of a First Round Nothing, my first one. I went back to school. It's funny. The Habs front office called me in like 2008 and 2009. And someone said, look, you've got like 6 months. You got some money saved here. You got whatever it was from the time I signed, I had like 15 years to use school money that I had allotted to me. Again, Mike Barnett was my agent, Gretzky's. I didn't even know about this. So I went back to school, and I got a folklore English degree, but people laugh. But like when I was in there, I realized I had all these journals, and I always had anxiety. If you can't tell, I'm wound up. I found if I harnessed the energy the right way, it wouldn't be negative anxiety. It's going to be something. But so I would always write. Like I got
you, man.
Hundreds of these, and I would write, and I'm like, I got stacks of my whole career, and it's not necessarily negative. It's just great stories. Going out west, the story I told you, losing my virginity, scoring, getting drafted. These aren't bad things. And when I went back reading them, they were fairly happy notes. I'm like, so what happened to me publicly with Montreal and everything, not going back to camp, and then hurt, kind of egg in my face at the time. But that's one little story in this boy growing up that's pretty happy now, right? That has a daughter that's, so I just put it all together. It was really, really therapeutic. And I'm like, what am I going to call this? Because there's a level of, disappointment. I didn't have a successful career for where I got drafted, but I did play in the NHL. Not everybody gets to do that. And I wore the Habs jersey, right? So I just said, fuck it, tales of a first round nothing. Long way to ask you. But what I was saying is that it was therapeutic for me. How did you come to write your book? Did you, because a lot, again, I've done my research. I just haven't read it all. But your book touches it. It's not all, the struggle with the mental, it's peppered with these stories of fantastical stories that any hockey fan would be like, holy shit. So was it therapeutic for you, or did you feel I've got to write this for everybody out there that could be going through the same? Or, were you was there a level of, I played and this is pretty cool to talk about my experience?
Yeah. So the book, I was initially going to write a book. And then the Players Tribune article was a faster way to get my story out there. I'd met another player that was playing in the NHL that was an active player. I'm living in Arizona. I go to a game in Phoenix. Jarrett Bouquet. Do you know Jarrett Bouquet?
Yeah, I played in Kamloops. He played when I was
you would have played
out there. I don't know him, but I played against him and I remember him well.
So he's an agent and he's got a player that's a client. This player that's a client plays for a team that's out east, okay, because I don't want to out the player. And we're in a game in Arizona, and I go to say hello to Bouquet, but this player's an active player at the time, and he's not in the lineup, and his team isn't even playing. So I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And we just start talking. He's like, "I'm in rehab," and I'm like, "Would you hurt your knee or something?" And he's like, "No, I'm in treatment, for drugs and alcohol." And I was like, okay, so, I figured, if you're in treatment, there's mental health shit going on, or he's bored or whatever. So I said, hey, let's go for coffee. And I'll take you for coffee. They didn't know anybody. So we go for coffee at a Starbucks. And I don't know why. I just started spewing my stuff that happened to me when I was in the NHL to him. I didn't really tell anybody up to that point. I mean, my mom knew, some close people. That's it. Nobody knew. And he looks back at me, and his face is blank, and he's like, holy shit, that's what happened to me. My mom had to resuscitate me twice from fentanyl overdoses.
Wow.
And this is an active NHL player. And the light bulb went off in my head, was like, I never realized that other people dealt with this stuff. I never really delved into it. And I was like, fuck, people are fucking this is, I got to get my story out there to try and help people. So that's how the Players Tribune article came about. And then eventually the book, got pitched. There's a lot more in the book, shit that even when I was older, it's like, but, so the book comes out. So the book for me wasn't therapeutic because, I had already told my story in the Players Tribune, but it was more for other people.
Yeah. Okay. That's where I was going.
The book isn't for me, because it got put in the sports section at all these, but it's a mental health book with hockey stories, not a hockey book with mental health stories, right? It's and the feedback I've gotten is exactly what I wanted to get, which is people that don't even have mental health issues now understand someone better, that it's a family member or a son or a daughter, because mental health, you can't see it. So people don't really understand how dire it can be, right? Yeah. Go for a walk. Your life's great. Fuck, what's your problem? Well, when your mental health is, and it sounds like you went through it, when it's fucking bad, it's pretty tough to see the positive side. What's amazing in your story to me, and what I hear is that you've done a lot of self-work to get yourself out of that, and journaling and writing for you sounds really therapeutic. And those are the things that so I think it's really cool, and it's great. And thank you for sharing that, because it makes every time someone shares, it makes me feel less alone, right? It makes all that we all got shit. like, I had Biz on my podcast, and his story is incredible too, but people don't know this. Like, when he was 17, he had one of his best friends take his own life, right? Like, people don't know that about Biz. Like, we all got shit. Like, there's nothing to be afraid. Like, go get the fucking help, if you need it. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of,
100%. I love what you just. I love what you said about the gentleman that you went to talk with, and he said, the fentanyl overdose, and no, I'm in treatment. Even that, man. Back when we played, not a lot of people would answer you like that, even if they were, right?
Yeah.
No one would come out and talk about it. I felt really, man, like alone. A couple, like, again, I don't want to try and pretend to identify what it's like to have OCD, but I do know the depths. I know the depths of depression and anxiety, and I felt like I let down my province, the whole world, and I had these concussion issues on top of it.
Oh, fuck.
And when am I going to be? It was dark, and then, like one thing that you said that really stuck with me this interview was when you said, there's a point that you realized, like, you could do it though. You had a mental health issue. You went through it. You made the NHL. You played well in the NHL. You had all these accomplishments. So it can be done. You just got to realize that at some point, like, it does turn. You're not going to be like it for it. Like, I don't mean, you might have a condition, but you're not always going to be in a bad mood. You're not always going to be in a dark corner. They're going to be, you can deal with it. Don't do anything stupid. And I remember being there, like, being real depressed. And then, on top of it, I blew money. Not even real, like, good intentions, but I just, I said to myself, how am I almost broke here, man? It was like 2007 or 8. Like, what the fuck did I do? Right. And then I had all this right here, and I would complain about, like, my skates being too blunt. Like, fuck, now I'm here, like, but anyway, I don't want to make it negative either. I just
no.
But with the more I would speak about it too, when my book came out, I did touch on it. I'll tell you, my second book, Corey.
Yeah.
It came out during the pandemic. I didn't ask for this reason. I often don't talk about it. The second book's called Fights, Film, and Folklore. And in the first third of the book, Fights, I'm just really, it was alliteration. It was nice for the title, but it's more about concussions, how you dealt with them. I got mine. Fighting didn't do it for me. It was getting hit, like, with the open ice hit. So fight 4 post-concussion. 1, I missed a whole year. And, like, it was emotional more than anything. It's hard to explain to people, but it was really every day, like, talking myself out of depression.
Fuck.
And I don't know, like, people ask me, I'm like, I don't know if I got hit somewhere that it causes that, but just to know that you have a problem in your brain will be like, so I don't know, is it the chicken or the egg? Like, I wasn't, oh, well, you were feeling depressed. I'm like, well, yeah, I was like, I had no depth perception. I was going to open a door and my hand was 2 inches. I'm in the NHL pulling through. Right, I got a job that is highly physical, and I'm there, and I can't remember, like, my address in my parents' house. That'll make you depressed. So I don't know if there's a depressed button that it hit, or just like, what the fuck, right? And then if you add, and we go on these roller coaster rides as athletes. That, you're up, you're down, you're up, even in a good day, right? I mean, you're as good as your last game, when you're as good as your last shift, really, and you're always being judged and trying to be a teammate, yet be successful. And then the family, as you get older, your family starts, and, you've got more responsibilities. I don't know. There's reasons for a lot of people to find them in that area. I just think it's more common than a lot of people realize. And at least now there's more people talking about it. Fuck, there was nobody talking about it back then.
Yeah. And that's, and that's, like, Shanks, like I said, thank you for sharing all that. 'Cause it's the more we can share all that. And I can't even imagine how dark it got for you. And I'll ask you a question. You can cut this out of the interview if you want, but did you ever get suicidal? Did you ever get to that point?
That's a good question. And yeah, definitely. I really look back and I wonder if I really had it in me, but I remember, I was in a Walmart parking lot. It was like 3 a.m. and I just went there and I was crying. I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Because I chose not, I didn't like Michel Therrien. My first meeting with him, he was just, look, whatever. You talk Babcock to me. I don't want to resurrect anything. I told this story on Chicklets the other day, and I didn't do it for that reason. And I hope it doesn't, because that was 20 years ago or more. But the guy was a jerk to me and a lot of us, and he used that power tactic. And so he calls me in for a meeting. It's like my 6th or 7th game in the A. I'm not doing very well to that point. but he calls me in and says, sit down. Okay, sit down. I sit down. He opens a can of pop and lights up a dart. And then he just stares at me. So I stare at him. And then I realized like a minute in, he's just waiting for me to speak. So I'm not going to say anything. So I just sat there and he stared at me. I stared at him, put out the cigarette when it was done and said, get the fuck out of my office. So, oh yeah. And I'm like
what the fuck? Right?
Yeah,
like,
what the fuck? And I came out and the boys that had him in junior, I think Francis Bouillon was there, Marc Bocage, Robida. And the boys are like, that's just the way he is. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean it's just the way he is? I've never been treated like that in my life. This is fucked up. But anyway, I don't even know where that came from. But so there was levels of frustration along the way. But
you said you're in a Walmart parking lot.
That's Sorry.
Yeah, I forget. I got concussions a little bit too, and sometimes I forget my name. So.
Yeah, there you forget. And sometimes I'm like, is that the concussion? But no. So I was in a bed. So that started it. I didn't like that, and he would give me the tap and everything. I remember hating hockey. I remember I got called up, and it didn't matter. I remember it didn't matter. I came home twice because I'm like, I remember my mom like, what are you doing? It's January. Like you're supposed to be in Fredericton. And I'd be like, it's not that I'm in the minors. I just fucking hate this guy. Like he doesn't treat me well. Like it was just he would bench me if I celebrated after a goal. He was taking my personality away. And I just, it wasn't just that. I just hated him at the time. But I chose not to go back to camp. Reggie Houle called me and he said, you're likely going to be our first call-up captain in the minors. I'm like, no, fuck that. I don't want to be that. Looking back, they had a record number of injuries, right? Asham got up, Higgins. They were anyway. Not that. I'm not saying I'm any better than them. It's just we're on the same level.
Well,
I probably would have
got the game.
And I chose not to go, and then I hurt myself in Dallas camp. That's what as I'm holding out. It was just so stupid. On the bright side, that's why I played with Leo and Zach. But I was down, and then when that happened, and I couldn't play anymore, man, I just kept trying to play through it, and it was a bad high ankle sprain. When I got back, and then I realized, I'm like, oh God, like that stat line doesn't look very good. And everywhere I went, people would be like, treat me with pity. Hey, Terry, geez, what happened? And I didn't even want to be home, yet I needed to be home. So I'm like, oh, shit, like this is fucked up. And I remember, and then I came back and I put on all that weight and, got married. I married my buddy. My buddy BJ Young died in a car accident in 2006. So I went back, and his son Tyson I ended up raising. I went back just to be a father figure. I played senior hockey in Bentley, Alberta. We went to the Allen Cup. It was great, Alberta. A bunch of all Western leaguers. But amongst all that, BJ had just passed, and I ended up marrying Danielle, his ex, and raising his kid. And then we had a daughter. We realized that we probably weren't going to stay together, but we had a daughter, Penny Lane. I took her to Europe. I took her to the 2009 World Ball Hockey Championships. And at the end of the trip, we were like, we're probably not going to be together, but it was a good try, and we were great friends and everything. She got her own hotel room. She comes up to me halfway through the night. Guess what? I'm pregnant. And that's my daughter, Penny Lane.
No way.
Here now. Danielle, now this is it, though. We juggled through life, man. We made some bad investments. We were down. We were up. Now, I'm in a much better place. She just moved out west on her own for 2 years without her daughter, coming back and forth to take a good opportunity, get a great job, and just transferred it back here. Literally yesterday, I picked up Danielle. And now my daughter's pumped. She got a place within a stone's throw of mine. It's just funny how, and I'm saying this because I couldn't be in a better place. Yeah. And I'm much happier that now I get to act to be a hockey player, because hockey is dangerous. And I can say, you know what? I played in the NHL. Not only that, for my Habs, Penny Lane doesn't give a shit that I only played 8 games. Like, she's 13. She's so proud of me. And the first time a few years ago that she realized it, because I never pushed it off on her, to her, like, oh, people wear Montreal Canadiens stuff and everything, but I never, she knew I was an athlete and an ex-pro and all that, but unless someone said it, I'm just raising her. And the Habs were in the finals 3 years ago, and she shows up at the door with her 2 friends, and I open, and the book bag drops. She goes, Daddy, is that the team you played on? I'm like, yeah, come on in. I'll show you some highlights.
So cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, just imagine I was sitting there at one point staring at a fucking wall, thinking I was the worst disappointment in the history of hockey, to worldwide Habs fans, to all local Newfoundland fans. I never get anywhere. My stepson, who I don't even know wants to be with me. I'm trying to raise him for BJ. I'm not doing a great job. I'm a failure. And then here we are now. So
it's so cool. And
it's a long way to answer your question, but yes, I did have those thoughts, and I don't mind saying it. I think they're more common than people think.
You know what? And I was just going to say once again, thanks for sharing that, because there's someone out there right now that's listening that you just got to get to tomorrow. It I know it's dark, but it gets better, right? And when you're like that, it's hard to see it tomorrow, but you just got to get to tomorrow. So that's, just keep going. And that's what I say about the game though, too, is that, it taught me resilience. It really did. Like, the game teaches you resilience. And I wonder if all that I learned in hockey is why I'm still here today. Right. Because, those dark days, man, the game gave me that resilience, keep moving forward, keep fighting, keep going. Right. So, no, that's a fucking great story, because that's what I try and say is if you need help, get the help. If you can do it yourself, great. But hey, man, just fucking get to tomorrow, right? We'll regroup and we'll get to tomorrow. And then, I hear you talking about being an 8th overall pick, and I'm like, and you're like, and I'm sitting here going, fuck, that's fucking awesome. I don't care how many games you played. Who cares if you were the 8th overall pick? You played for the Habs, But when it's about us and we look internally, sometimes it's like, fuck, I failed. I did this and I did that, and I didn't get here, and blah blah blah. And I look at you right now, and I'm like, man, you're on one of the best fucking shows out there, right? Like, resilience. You got through that. You've written books. You've played in the NHL, and you're telling me there were some really dark days, like holy shit. I'm looking at you going that's fucking awesome, man. So kudos to you for going through that. But again, that's what the message is just get to tomorrow, man. It gets better. Right. And it's just really, really cool to see your life today and what's going on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really, really do. And you talk about acting, so I got a few more questions, just rapid fire randoms. They're lighthearted at the end. There'll probably be 10 more minutes. But before we get there, you asked, that's kind of why at the beginning, I was always I was the guy, I was writing poems. I was always writing growing up. Like I said, before I even really knew about, I have a tendency, I don't know. I've never been, I don't know. It's more ADHD like than anything. I've never been diagnosed. I've never tried to be. I really don't know. I just know that I'm wound up, and I would always kind of writing poems, or I was always doing that. And I liked acting, but I was always scared to do it growing up, because where I grew up at that time, if I'd gone on stage and done Shakespeare, I probably would have got shit kicked by the hockey. Right? So, yeah. But after hockey, I found I could get I liked acting, because now I can be somebody else. And there was a little bit of that still going on. I guess the post hockey depression of trying to find something, and I found myself in that world as a crew member more than anything. But then I got the odd opportunity, and I remember having the very first scene in the show Frontier. Jason Momoa, I was teaching him to play hockey, and him and a few more that were producers gave me an opportunity, and that was my first words on camera. But 2016, the show Frontier, the very, very, very first scene, it's on Netflix for anybody. Most people are already heard this story if they listen to my podcast regularly. But they were asking me to, it was weird, because Momoa came over, and I hadn't met him, and in the rehearsal, he kind of poked me in the back as he was coming up with his knife that he was going to slit my throat with, on the camera. And he said, sorry, my knife hit you in the back. And I said, I thought you were just happy to see me. Now, all the crew who I've been on crew with for 5 years, and they're kind of rooting for me. You don't normally make that change. And T-Bone's going to be on camera. He's going to be with Momoa in first scene. So I see them all. It was a happy moment for me. And it required me to cry and be angry. And I remember the director, Brad Payton, he's like, we're giving you an opportunity, but you need to cry. I need to see blood, sweat, tears, snot, everything. When you're saying, please have mercy, that was my line, because when you're saying, please have mercy, you're asking him to kill you quick, not to let you go because you're suffering. He's fucking devout. He fucking cut you up like you're dying. So that's how it wasn't thinking of, I just when I said, when I'm acting, I'm stepping away from whoever I was before that. And I was like, wow, I didn't cry thinking about a bad thing. It was just I can't explain it in words.
No, I got you, man.
I can get there because I'm like, I went through all that, and like here I am. I'm getting Jason Momoa is like, what a life, man! Like, and all of that. When I saw you was in the Walmart parking lot, I mean, I was faced towards Walmart with no. I was gonna drive fast into it. That was gonna be my method. Whatever. When you're thinking,
fuck, you're
I'm
not
like,
thinking
all
of
of that came back. I'm like, what was I doing? Like, things can work out. I certainly wasn't out of the woods yet, but I'm like, look at all those crew who I've worked with for a few years, and they're so proud of me. And I was tripping over my bottom lip about not playing a 9th game in the National Hockey League. Like, what? Right? Anyway, it's a great acting story. Kind of was a natural outlet for me. Anyway, enough. Thank you for listening, and we'll get on to
man. Fuck, those are great stories. Those are fucking, I mean, and you're fucking, all that shit happens. It gets you to where you are today, right? I mean,
exactly.
It all happens the way, and it's fucking
get
cool.
To tomorrow, like you said. That's a good slogan.
Get to tomorrow, man. But yeah, what do you got for me? You got some rapid fire?
Okay, here we go. Rapid fire randoms with Corey Hirsch. Here we go. You're on death row. You've committed a crime. I don't know what you've done. Let's say you've gone down to Uncle Willie's, and your steak was cold, and you go in and you murder the chef. Now you're on death row. What are you going to have for your last meal?
Oh, Jesus. I'm a steak and potatoes guy.
Are you really?
Yeah. So that's
spoken
what,
like
I'm from Alberta.
Yeah. Yeah. True Calgarian.
I'm from Alberta. Steak and potatoes.
Superpower. You can pick one. What is it?
Oh, invisibility for sure.
Invisibility.
Oh yeah. The conversations I'd love to sit in on NHL teams.
You're literally a fly on the wall.
Go in the coach's room. Hear what they're saying about me.
You're literally a fly on the wall. Your favorite hockey card of yours. Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, my rookie card. It's in a New York Rangers. The very first one you get, right? It's a fucking. I don't know. Same for you. It's my rapid.
Yeah, the same. I got sent back to Red Deer, and my buddies and I, my roommate Scott Burt, more than anything, we went to the store and we just bought pack after pack, and then finally it came out. Yo! So wow, cool. What a feeling. Favorite athlete outside of hockey?
Oh boy, that's a good question. Trying quickly. God, who do I like to watch?
Or one-up, I guess. It's tough to ask you your favorite anything with like 10 seconds.
I'm a football guy, so I would say Joe Montana.
Ooh, nice answer. You can go to any moment in time in a time machine where this doesn't have to be in the past either. You can go to the future. You can go anywhere you fucking want, but you get one return trip. You're not going to change time like or things that happen like the butterfly effect. You just get to go and observe. Where do you want to
go? I'm going back to biblical times to see if that shit really happened.
Oh, that's a great question, right?
Yeah.
I'm somewhere I grew up Catholic. I can't buy in the Noah's Ark, but I do. I think I believe in what they believe in, like in being a higher power, energy. Like you said, is it divine intervention? I don't know. Sometimes that shit happens to me. I'm like karma, pay it forward, something, energy. What goes up comes down. I'm the same, man. Can't guarantee who my God is, but there's something. That's what I feel.
I'd like to see if was this just a book written of stories? Did this suffer?
Yeah.
I'd love to, right?
That's a great fucking, that'd be a great thing. Yeah. Is it? You could really, because a lot of society is centered around this kind of story. Yeah. So let's see if it's real.
Because if it did happen, I'm changing my life tomorrow.
Where have you, really, where have you not traveled that's on the bucket list?
Southern Italy. Or Rome or Vienna or anything like that.
It's my favorite spot.
I'd love to go.
That's where all that happened with Danielle was Italy. You got to get a Winnebago. You're going to get in a Winnebago. You're going to drive from New York to L.A. Have a great adventure. What ex-teammate's going to be you're only in there with 3 people. What ex-teammate's going to be the chef and what ex-teammate's going to be the DJ?
Russ Courtnall's going to be the chef.
Oh, that was immediate.
Yeah, absolutely. He's right into cooking now. And ex-teammate that's going to be the DJ. That's a really good question. Quickly, Craig Lyons. Let's throw him out there because he threw me under the bus. So Craig, you can be the DJ.
Sure enough, lucky Leo. Okay, now you've gone across the country. You've done your thing. You've given some public speeches. You're feeling good. A lot of people bought your book. You're happy. But Lucky Leo and Russ Courtnall, I got to stay out there. Now you got to go back the other way. Who of this list do you take? You take 2 of these people. not to be a chef or a DJ, just for company. David Letterman, Mick Jagger, Michael Phelps, or Jimmy Carter. When I say Jimmy Carter, I don't mean the political stance that he takes. He's 99 years old, and he used to be a president. I think he would have a lot to say, one way or the other. Not politically, but, it's Jimmy Carter.
100% Mick Jagger. The stories he would have from the Stones, and that's great, because every professional athlete wants to be a rock star.
I know.
And any rock star I've met, they all want to be professional athletes.
It's funny. I had Jim Cuddy write the foreword to my first book from Blue Rodeo. I said the same thing. And I got to know him from playing like these pickup musician, and he's got a game at the Juno Cup for Music Counts, raising money for people in the arts community that need it. Anyway, and this is exactly what he said to me. I said, Terry, don't you know every musician wants to be a hockey player and the other way around? And did you know the Stones got a new album coming out? They got a single released last week, Angry. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's fucking the single's good. It's one thing to put it out. I'm a huge Beatles fan. My daughter's name is Penny Lane. I have a tattoo on my arm. But McCartney doesn't really put out anything relevant for decades. But the Stones are still doing it. Yeah, I mean, this is a wicked tune.
I saw the Stones right before the pandemic in Arizona. Like 60,000 people. I was in the pit, like 10 feet. And Mick Jagger was he put on a show.
Isn't it incredible?
70-some years old.
Yeah.
My dad's like 75. Mick Jagger's out on stage singing to 60,000 and moving and like energy.
With the swagger and sex appeal.
Great. It was so great.
Fuck, man. It's wild. Still, it's one thing to go out. I guess you could wheel anybody out on stage. You could put Jimmy Carter out there to sing Satisfaction if you wanted. He's alive. But Jagger's out there being Jagger.
It was unbelievable.
One dead celebrity you could interview.
One dead celebrity.
Or have a chat. It doesn't have to be like an interview. I mean, like you can hang out.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah, probably
Elvis Presley, 100%. I would love to hear the stories that guy has.
Yeah, I'm a big Elvis fan.
I just want to know who he slept with and who he didn't sleep with.
Really? I mean, just imagine. Come on. With that, I mean, we know what's written and what's in the movies, but just think every day being Elvis
Presley.
Every day being Elvis. Fuck. Okay, the aliens come down, and they're going to blow up the world unless you can make them dance, and you need one song to make them dance. What would that song be?
What song would that be? Oh, I don't. All my brain is saying, don't stop believing. Song's overplayed. One dance tune. Probably. There's a song called "It's Like That." And I think it's not Run DMC,
my friend.
Is it Run DMC?
And it's the way it is.
Exactly.
And it's the way it is.
One of my favorite songs to run to.
Favorite sports jersey ever?
Probably the one from my first NHL game with the New York Rangers. My heart's with the Rangers, even though I played, I love the Canucks, but my heart's with the Rangers, right? Get drafted there, Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
Madison Square. Yeah, man, you live the high life. Time capsule. Your great grandkids. You got to put something in a time capsule now. 3 movies that you think they should see that they'll enjoy. It doesn't have to be all one genre. It could be all comedy. It could be thriller, horror. It could be a mix. 3 movies to people that are probably going to be alive in around the year 2200.
Yeah. Breakfast Club.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Fucking classic that's underrated.
Absolutely. Breakfast Club, because I think everybody, even my kids, it's way past, they loved it. Like they think it's one of their better. Step Brothers, because you got to see a Will Ferrell movie. Right? And then
you have to have one Will Ferrell movie in there.
And then probably something like The Wolf of Wall Street or Blow. Some kind of action, just a great flick.
And those would really be commentaries on the times too. I like those picks for 2 reasons. If you were in the future, and both of those movies, though littered in real crazy and shady stuff, but they are commentaries on. If you watch one of those, you get a good idea what happened in this time.
Oh, I didn't say Tommy Boy though.
classic. Thanks for reminding me of Breakfast Club and again Tommy Boy, because my daughter's 13 now and she can kind of appreciate it. So it went 2 years ago. It went from cartoons to like, okay, now we can watch some bigger movies that are just cartoons. One rule that you want changed or you think could be changed in hockey, or is it perfect?
Get rid of that stupid trapezoid for the goalies.
Yeah, good answer.
Or you know what they should have done? They actually should have
think about that.
They should have reversed it. Don't let goalies play the puck behind the net. If they want to go fucking deep in the corner to go play it, let them go play it. Yeah,
but I don't know why.
Stuck in the corner.
Who was calling for that rule? What was
Here's
the reason?
what happened. So New Jersey used to play that trap, right? So you'd have Danico and Stevens. They'd be on the blue line. They'd be just like holding guys up with their sticks. You try and dump the puck in to get by it. Marty Brodeur would just go out in the corner, just fire it out of the zone every time. So nobody could get the boring, the dead puck era. Yeah. So that's why. So they were like, well, that we're only going to because guys like Marty Brodeur would just go get the puck and they just fire it out of the zone. And then there was no offense. It would just kill everything. And then because of the holdups, you used to be able to hold guys up, right? Nobody could forecheck. So they ended up.
Interesting. I didn't know because, to me, it's more exciting when the goalie comes up, but that makes sense. So there was a legitimate reason for that rule change that is pretty understandable. How many fish burgers have you ever eaten?
0. I'm not a fish guy, but I have been in Newfoundland at 3 a.m. at Greensleeves. So I don't know if that's I don't know where the comparison came from, but
you would be both. Yeah, I'll be at Greensleeves.
I've had a smoky dog at 3 a.m. in St. John's.
It's still generally Greensleeves, the same Greensleeves you remember.
Yeah.
And I go down there, man. My night always starts there and usually finishes there, but it's a cornerstone of George Street. There's always live music. There's great food.
Awesome.
Okay, final question. Buck.
Yeah,
I said a half hour. We're 2 hours. Appreciate all this. All-time team. So you can pick in this hypothetical world. There's $5 million on the table. You get to take it. If your team beats my team, it's all hypothetical. You can pick 3 forwards, 2D, and a goalie, except you can't take Gretzky, Lemieux, or Howe.
Oh, yeah.
Or any former Montreal Canadiens.
Okay. Well, I probably have Niedermayer and Lidstrom on the blue line.
Great picks, of course.
Forwards, I have Alex McGillney, who's not in the Hall of Fame, which is
how the fuck is he not in the Hall? Anyway, answer first, and then we'll.
Alex McGillney, Steve Yzerman, and then let's throw Gordie Howe in there too. Can we pick Howe?
We can't pick Howe. He's one of the top 4.
Howe. That's right. So guys that I would have played with. Let's just put Russ Courtnall on there because fuck is he a great teammate. Best guy to have on your team.
And so fast.
Yeah. And then in net, if I was going to have anybody, it would probably be Marty Brodeur.
Nice pick.
Yeah. And Marty is the same age as me. And in junior hockey, I thought I was fucking good. I went to a World Junior camp that he was there and I watched him play and I was like, this guy's on another fucking level. And he ended up being right. So
even then.
Marty Brodeur. Yeah. And the Alex McGillney thing before we go is a fucking joke.
I don't understand it, Corey. I don't get it. Does he have what? Why it's so obvious that he should be in the Hall of Fame that it almost is puke-inducing that he's not. I feel bad for the guy, and I don't even know him. Why isn't he in there?
The only thing I can think of is that he's a really quiet guy that keeps to himself, that maybe they think he wouldn't show up for the ceremony. That's the only thing I can think of, because he doesn't really care about that stuff. Like it's not on his radar. He was one of the best teammates I had. He's a quiet guy that doesn't let anybody really into his life. So I'm wondering, I have no idea, but he was the best player I ever played with. And I played with Messier, fucking, and that's different level mess, but I played with, Pavel, all those guys, and Alex could do it all. Like, wow, he could do it all.
That's
and I shouldn't say he's better than Messier because that's but Alex to me was like, fuck, I don't know why he's not in the Hall. Yeah,
I know what you're saying. He's mesmerizing to you.
Yeah, and he was a good dude.
Okay, listen, do you have anything? That's awesome. Thanks you for your time. I really appreciate it. And for those that don't know, it was 6 a.m. out there when we went on air. So again, unbelievable. Here we are 2 hours later. Do you have anything else do you have anything to promote? Do you have any speeches coming up? Where can people get your book?
Yeah, man. So my book is out there. It's called The Saving My Life. You can get that anywhere, Amazon, all that stuff. Instagram, Corey Hirsch 72, Twitter, Corey Hirsch. But I'm not on Twitter that much anymore. I find it's just a place for people to take free shots at me.
Exactly.
Exactly,
Corey. Right? I'm not on there much anymore either. I started to do it. Then I stopped and I'm like, wow, it's so freeing and fucking relaxing not to be on there. I don't even read the comments. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's just I'm like, why do I tweet so that someone can take a free shot at me?
Yeah,
like it's all it is. So I'm like, fuck it. So I'm not on Twitter that much, but Instagram I'm on a lot. Corey Hirsch 72. Yeah, man, and just thanks for just a great interview. It's always Western Hockey Leaguer. That's fucking. It's almost like if you're Western Hockey League alumni, it's like we all share those same bus stories, and it's just been a really cool interview. I appreciate it, man. So thank you.
Thank you. Like you said, geography might be one thing, but the hockey world is a small world. And look, there's so many common denominators, and we didn't even really dig too far. I'd love to have you back again sometime. You're a really interesting guy, and I think our paths will cross at some point.
Yeah.
I really think they will, and I'm looking forward to that day. Thank you very much for coming on Tales with TR today. I really do appreciate it. I wish you all the luck in the future, and I'm getting that book this afternoon.
Thanks, brother. No, this was awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No sweat. See you, my man. Okay, folks, that has been episode 172B of Tales with TR with Corey Hirsch. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll be back in just a few days with some more Tales with TR. Folks, if you're downtown St. John's and you want to have a beer, why not stop into Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, Greensleeves Pub, or the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to have a bite to eat, why not do it at Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, or Wedgwood Cafe? You want to change your life? You want strength and balance for the body and mind? Stop by Power Conditioning on Rope Walk Lane and ask for Ryan Power. You want to go to Mr. Lube? There's 2 locations here in St. John's, Newfoundland. One's on Torbay Road. One is on Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief, the pain sticks that just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com. And, of course, True Hockey. Take what's yours. More Tales with TR in just a few days. I will be in Buffalo, New York this time next week to play the Chicklets Cup. Follow along at chickletscup.com, and I will see you guys in just a few days. Catch you on the rebound. Thanks for listening.